The dust from the sheriff's horse hadn't even settled when Marcus Kane heard the knock. 3 sharp raps that echoed through the cabin like rifle shots. He knew that sound, knew what it meant. Outside, Sheriff William Pritchard stood with 5 deputies, their badges catching the afternoon sun like warnings. Behind them, the frontier town of Redemption stretched out across the valley. Wooden buildings, dirt streets, and secrets buried shallow enough that rain always brought them back up. Marcus opened the door halfway, his weathered hands steady despite the cold dread spreading through his chest. He was 42 years old, a widower who'd learned to live with silence. But 3 days ago he'd broken that silence in a way he knew the town wouldn't forgive. "Marcus," Pritchard said, his voice carrying that false friendliness lawmen use before they tell you your life is over. "We need to talk about the woman." Behind Marcus, somewhere in the cabin's back room, Elena Vasquez held her breath. She pressed against the rough wooden wall, her dark eyes fixed on the doorway, calculating distances, exits, chances. The rope burns on her wrists were still fresh. The bruises on her face had just begun to yellow at the edges. Marcus didn't turn around, didn't give her away. He just stepped onto the porch and pulled the door closed behind him. "Don't know what you're talking about, Sheriff." Pritchard smiled. It was the kind of smile a snake gives before it strikes. "Now, Marcus, whole town saw you ride in 3 nights back with something wrapped in your saddle blanket. Word is it was a woman. Word is she's wanted for murder down in Santa Fe." The deputies shifted, hands drifting toward their holsters. Marcus kept his own hands visible, relaxed. He'd learned in the war that sometimes the most dangerous thing a man could do was look scared. "Like I said, don't know what you're talking about." Inside the cabin, Elena's fingers found the knife Marcus had left on the side table. It wasn't much, just a skinning blade, worn and old. But it was sharp. And right now, it was the only thing standing between her and a rope. The choice Marcus Kane had made 3 days ago was about to cost him everything. The only question now was whether he'd pay that price alone. "Let me take you back." 3 days before the sheriff came knocking, Marcus had been checking his trap lines in the canyon north of town. It was hard country, red rock and rattlesnakes, the kind of place where only desperate people went. He wasn't desperate, just preferred solitude to the sideways glances he got in Redemption. Ever since his wife Sarah died, cancer had taken her slow, painful, the kind of death that makes a man question whether there's any mercy in the world at all. He'd been living alone for 2 years, kept his head down, worked his traps, avoided trouble. That morning trouble found him anyway. She was collapsed near a dried creek bed, half buried in red dust. At first, Marcus thought it was a coyote kill. That's how still she was. But then he saw the rope marks, the torn dress, the blood. He knelt beside her, checking for a pulse. Found one faint and fluttering like a bird trying to escape a cage. Her eyes opened, black as midnight, wide with terror. She tried to speak. Her voice came out as a rasp, broken glass on bare feet. "Please, don't take me back." Marcus Kane had seen a lot of things in his 42 years. War, death, cruelty so casual it didn't even know it was cruel. But something about the way she said those words, the absolute certainty that being found meant dying, it cut through him like winter wind. "I won't," he said, before his brain caught up with his mouth. He wrapped her in his saddle blanket, lifted her onto his horse. She couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds, all angles and bone and fear. The ride back to his cabin took 3 hours. She drifted in and out of consciousness. When she was awake, she watched him with those dark eyes, trying to figure out if she'd traded one devil for another. When they reached his cabin, he carried her inside. Laid her on his own bed, brought water, bandages, the old medical kit from his army days. Her wrists were raw from rope. Someone had tied her up and left her to die. "Who did this?" Marcus asked, cleaning the wounds with careful hands. She turned her face away. "Doesn't matter. They'll say I deserved it. Nobody deserves this," she laughed. It was a bitter sound, old beyond her years. "You don't know what I did. Don't need to." She looked at him then. Really looked. Like she was seeing him for the first time. "Why are you helping me?" Marcus thought about Sarah, about the promise he'd made at her bedside. "Do something good with what's left, Marcus. Don't let the world make you small. Because I can't stand by and watch someone die when I can do something about it." Elena, he didn't know her name yet, closed her eyes. A single tear tracked through the dust on her cheek. That night she told him everything. Her name was Elena Vasquez. She'd been working as a housekeeper for a wealthy rancher named Thomas Blackwell down in Santa Fe. Blackwell was a respected man, church deacon, town council member, the kind of man whose word was law. He was also a monster. He'd been forcing himself on the women who worked for him for years. Everyone knew. Nobody spoke. That's how power works on the frontier. It builds walls around itself and calls them civilization. Elena had tried to leave 3 times. Each time Blackwell found her, dragged her back. The beatings got worse. Then came the night she fought back. Blackwell came to her room, drunk, violent. She grabbed the lamp beside her bed and brought it down on his skull. Once, twice. She didn't stop until he stopped moving. She ran, made it 60 miles before Blackwell's men caught her. They tied her up, rode her out to the canyon to finish what their boss couldn't. But one of them had a conscience, or at least a fear of hell. He cut her loose in the night and told her to run. She ran until Marcus found her. "They'll hang me," Elena said, her voice empty. "They'll call it justice. Say I murdered a good man." Marcus stared at the fire. "Was he moving when you left?" I don't know. I think so. I heard him groan. Then maybe you didn't kill him. Maybe you just fought back. Won't matter. His men will say whatever keeps them paid." She was right. Marcus knew it. On the frontier, truth was whatever the man with the most guns said it was. "You can stay here," Marcus heard himself say, "until it's safe." Elena stared at him. "Why would you risk that?" Because Sarah's voice was in his head. "Do something good, Marcus, because it's right." That night, Elena slept in his bed while Marcus kept watch by the door. He didn't sleep, just listened to the sound of her breathing. Steady, alive, safe. For the first time in 2 years, the cabin didn't feel empty. Now we're back on the porch, Sheriff Pritchard staring Marcus down like he's got all the time in the world. "Marcus, I'm going to ask you one more time. Real polite. Is there a woman inside your cabin?" Marcus crossed his arms. "You got a warrant, Sheriff?" Pritchard's smile faded. "Don't need one if I have probable cause. And I got 3 witnesses who saw you ride into town with something, or someone, wrapped up on your horse." Witnesses can be wrong. Can be. Usually aren't. Pritchard stepped closer, close enough that Marcus could smell the tobacco on his breath.
"Here's what I know.
Thomas Blackwell was attacked 3 nights ago.
Nearly killed.
His housekeeper, Elena Vasquez, is missing. Blackwell's men tracked her north, lost the trail right around where your trap lines run." Marcus said nothing. "Now," Pritchard continued, "maybe that's all coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in evidence, and the evidence says you're harboring a fugitive. If I was, I'd be a fool to admit it to a man with 5 armed deputies." Pritchard laughed. "That's the Marcus I remember. Stubborn as a mule even when the barn's on fire." His expression hardened. "But this isn't a game. Blackwell's offering a $1,000 reward. That kind of money talks loud." Inside, Elena heard every word. $1,000. Enough to make good men do bad things. She gripped the knife tighter. Pritchard raised his voice. "Elena Vasquez, if you're in there, come out peaceable and we'll sort this legal. Nobody has to get hurt." "Silence, Marcus," Pritchard said quietly. "Don't make this harder than it has to be. That woman's a criminal. Whatever sob story she told you, it's probably half lies and whole fantasy. Blackwell's a good man, respected. You really going to take her word over his?" Marcus met the sheriff's eyes. "What if I told you Blackwell's been forcing himself on his workers for years? What if I told you Elena fought back because he was going to rape her?" Pritchard's jaw tightened. "That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. You got proof?" "Her word." Pritchard shook his head. "That ain't proof, Marcus." "That's a story, and stories don't hold up in court against a man like Thomas Blackwell." Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. He'd known this would happen. Known the law would side with power, not truth. So that's it? She goes back to hang for defending herself? She goes back to face justice. That ain't justice, Sheriff. That's murder with a gavel. Pritchard's hand moved to his holster. Not drawing, just resting there. "A reminder, Marcus. I'm asking you as a friend. Don't make me come in there." Marcus looked at the 5 deputies. Young men, mostly. Hard faces. They'd do what they were told. Wouldn't lose sleep over it. He thought about Sarah, about the promise, then he made his choice. "You'll have to." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Pritchard's eyes narrowed. You understand what you're saying? I do. You're choosing her over the law. I'm choosing what's right over what's legal. There's a difference. Pritchard turned to his deputies. Check the barn, the shed, anywhere she might be hiding. 2 deputies moved immediately. Marcus watched them go, calculating. The cabin had 1 back window. Small, but Elena was small too. Inside, Elena heard the footsteps. Her heart hammered. She looked at the window, then at the door. Marcus was still out there, still standing between her and 5 armed men. She could run, slip out while they searched the outbuildings, but that would leave Marcus alone, leave him to pay for her freedom. She thought about the life she'd lived, always running, always afraid, hiding in the margins of other people's stories. She was tired of running. Elena Vasquez stood up, walked to the front door, opened it. Every gun swung toward her. Marcus turned. Elena, no, it's all right, she said quietly. She stepped onto the porch, knife still hidden in the folds of her dress. Not to fight, just to feel less powerless. Pritchard stared at her, taking in the bruises, the rope burns, the exhaustion carved into every line of her face. Elena Vasquez. Yes. You're wanted for attempted murder. I was defending myself. Thomas Blackwell says otherwise. Elena's laugh was sharp. Thomas Blackwell is a liar and a rapist, but I suppose his word carries more weight than mine. Pritchard shifted uncomfortably. For a moment, just a moment, doubt flickered across his face. Ma'am, I'm just doing my job. Your job is to protect people like me. Instead, you're protecting monsters. That's for a judge to decide. The judge is Blackwell's brother-in-law. Pritchard went still. Marcus saw it too, the recognition. The pieces falling into place. Sheriff, Marcus said carefully. You know this is wrong. Pritchard's voice dropped. Don't matter what I know. Matters what I can prove. He looked at Elena. You'll come with us peaceable? Elena met his eyes. Do I have a choice? No, ma'am, she nodded. Started walking toward the deputies. Marcus grabbed her arm. Elena, it's all right, she smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. You tried. That's more than anyone else did. I'm not done trying. Pritchard stepped between them. You've done enough, Marcus. Don't make it worse. Marcus stared at the sheriff, at the deputies, at Elena's resigned expression. Then he looked past them, to the town in the valley below, and he saw them, people, dozens of them, walking up the hill toward his cabin, women mostly, some with children, some alone, all of them watching. Pritchard turned, saw them too. His confidence wavered. An older woman reached the porch first. Maria Gonzalez. She ran the boarding house in town. Kept her head down. Never caused trouble, Sheriff, she said. We need to talk. Pritchard frowned. This is official business, Maria. I know. That's why we're here. She looked at Elena. She's not the first, is she? Elena shook her head. Maria turned to the crowd. How many of you worked for Thomas Blackwell? 3 women raised their hands. How many of you were touched by him? Hurt by him? All 3 hands stayed up. Then another woman raised hers. And another 5 women, standing in the afternoon sun. Finally speaking, Pritchard's face had gone pale. Ladies, this isn't... It's exactly the time, Maria interrupted. We've been quiet too long. Afraid too long. But Elena fought back. And now you want to hang her for it? She nearly killed a man. He nearly killed her, and would have if she hadn't stopped him. Marcus watched the sheriff, saw the calculation in his eyes. 5 witnesses, dozens more watching, the truth spilling out faster than he could contain it. This doesn't change the law, Pritchard said, but his voice had lost its edge. Maybe not, Maria said, but it changes what we'll tolerate. You take Elena back to hang, and every woman in this town will know that fighting back means death, that we're expected to just endure. Silence. Pritchard looked at his deputies, at the crowd, at Marcus and Elena standing side by side. He was a lawman, but he was also a man who had to live in this town after today. I need to think, he said finally. Think fast, Maria replied, because we're not leaving. The standoff stretched into the evening. The crowd didn't disperse. More people came. Men this time, standing beside their wives, their daughters, their sisters. Someone brought food. Someone else brought coffee. It became a vigil. A statement. Elena sat on Marcus's porch wrapped in a blanket. Women she'd never met came to sit beside her. to squeeze her hand, to whisper thank you. Marcus stood nearby, watching, marveling. 3 days ago he'd been alone. Now his cabin was the center of something he couldn't quite name. A reckoning, maybe. Or a beginning. Pritchard pulled Marcus aside as the sun began to set. This is a hell of a mess, Marcus. Didn't start with me. No. But it might end with you. Pritchard rubbed his face. Blackwell's going to push for a trial. He's got money, lawyers, influence. He's also got a dozen women willing to testify against him. That might not be enough. Marcus looked at Elena. She was smiling at something Maria had said. For the first time since he'd found her, she looked like more than a woman waiting to die. Then we make it enough, Marcus said. That night, the town held a meeting. Not official, not legal, just people gathering to talk about what kind of place Redemption wanted to be. Sheriff Pritchard stood at the front. He didn't look comfortable. Here's the situation, he began. Elena Vasquez is wanted for attempted murder in Santa Fe. Thomas Blackwell has demanded she be returned to stand trial. By law, I have to comply. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. But, Pritchard continued, new information has come to light. Multiple women have come forward with allegations against Blackwell. Serious allegations. Allegations don't mean guilt, someone called out. One of Blackwell's friends, Marcus noted. No, Pritchard agreed, but they mean an investigation. And until that investigation is complete, I'm not handing anyone over to a man who might be the real criminal here. The crowd erupted, some in approval, some in outrage. Marcus caught Pritchard's eye. The sheriff gave a tiny nod. It wasn't over. But it was a start. Thomas Blackwell came to Redemption 3 weeks later. He arrived with lawyers, deputies from Santa Fe, and an arrogance that filled the room like smoke. The trial was held in the town meeting hall. Every seat was packed. Elena sat beside Marcus. She'd put on weight in the past weeks. The hollow look had left her eyes. She looked like someone who'd remembered how to hope. Blackwell's lawyer was a sharp-dressed man named Harrington. He presented Elena as a violent criminal, a liar, a seductress who'd murdered her employer when he rejected her advances. It was a well-crafted lie, delivered with confidence. Then it was Elena's turn. She stood slowly, walked to the front of the room, faced her abuser. I was 16 when I came to work for you, she said. Her voice was steady, clear. You told my mother I'd be safe, that you'd look after me. Blackwell's jaw tightened. The first time you came to my room, I thought it was a mistake, that you'd wandered in drunk. I didn't scream, didn't fight, because you told me no one would believe me. The room was silent. The second time I tried to leave, you found me at the train station, brought me back, said if I tried again you'd hurt my family. She turned to the crowd. For 3 years I endured. I survived. I told myself it was temporary, that someday I'd be free. Her voice broke. Marcus stood ready to go to her. But she raised a hand. I'm okay. The night I fought back, you told me you were going to kill me. You said you were tired of my face, my tears. You said you'd make it look like an accident. Elena looked at Blackwell. He wouldn't meet her eyes. So I fought. I grabbed the lamp and I hit you. And I ran, not because I wanted to hurt you, but because I wanted to live. She sat down. Harrington stood immediately. This is a convenient story, Miss Vasquez. But where's your proof? Where are the witnesses? Maria Gonzalez stood. I'm a witness. Another woman stood. Then another 5 women, then 10, then 15. All with the same story. Blackwell's face went white. The judge, a circuit judge from 3 territories over, not Blackwell's brother-in-law, called for order. Mr. Blackwell, he said carefully. Do you have anything to say? Blackwell stood. This is a conspiracy. These women are lying. All of them? Yes, the judge looked at the crowd. At the women standing. At Elena's scarred wrists. I find that unlikely. The trial lasted 3 days. In the end, the jury took less than an hour. Elena Vasquez was found not guilty. Thomas Blackwell was arrested for assault, intimidation, and obstruction of justice. He'd never see the inside of a church again. Spring came to Redemption. The snow melted. The creek ran high, and Marcus Kane's cabin stopped feeling like a place he was hiding. Elena stayed, not because she had nowhere else to go, but because she chose to. They didn't marry right away. That would have felt too much like obligation. Like gratitude pretending to be love. Instead, they became friends, partners, Two people learning how to live in the same space without fear. Elena taught reading to children in the town. The same children whose mothers had stood up for her. Marcus kept running his trap lines. But now he came home to laughter. To Elena humming while she cooked. To a cabin that felt like a home. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Elena spoke. "I've been thinking about why you did it, why you risked everything." Marcus considered. "My wife, Sarah. Before she died, she made me promise to do something good with what was left of my life. To not let the world make me small. You loved her." "I did." Elena was quiet for a moment. "Do you think you could love someone else?" Marcus looked at her. Really looked. Saw the woman who'd survived hell and chose kindness anyway. The woman who'd stood in front of a judge and told the truth even when it could have killed her. "I think I already do," he said. Elena smiled, reached for his hand. They sat like that until the stars came out. Two people who'd been broken. Who'd been alone. Who'd found each other in the wreckage and built something new. A year later, Sheriff Pritchard stopped by the cabin. Marcus and Elena were married by then. She wore her mother's ring. He wore a smile that Sarah would have recognized. "Just checking in," Pritchard said, accepting a cup of coffee. "We're doing well," Elena said. She was pregnant. Not showing yet, but there was a glow about her. "A piece," Pritchard nodded. "Good, that's good." He shifted uncomfortably. "I wanted to apologize. For that day. For not believing you right away." Elena touched his arm. "You came around. That's what mattered." "I should have been better." "We're all learning to be better," Marcus said. "That's the point." After Pritchard left, Elena and Marcus walked to the ridge overlooking Redemption. The town had changed. Blackwell's ranch had been sold. His house converted into a school for girls. The 5 women who'd testified had started a mutual aid society. They helped women leave dangerous situations, provided safe places to stay. The town council had passed new ordinances, protection for workers, consequences for those who abused power. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Elena asked. "Every day. What if you'd just ridden past me? Left me there?" Marcus pulled her close. "I didn't, that's all that matters, but why? What made you stop?" He thought about Sarah, about the promise, about the moment he'd seen Elena in the dust and recognized something in her eyes. Not just fear, but the same loneliness he'd been carrying for 2 years, I think, he said slowly. "I needed saving too, and sometimes the only way to save yourself is to save someone else first." Elena rested her head on his shoulder. Below them, Redemption glowed in the evening light, smoke curling from chimneys, children playing in the street. A town learning to be better than it had been. "Thank you," Elena whispered. "For what?" "For choosing me. When the sheriff came, when the whole town could have turned against you, you chose me." Marcus kissed the top of her head. "I'd make the same choice 1,000 times." They stood there as the sun set. Two people who'd been lost, who'd been broken, who'd found each other in the frontier's dust and built something that would outlast them both. Because sometimes the most important choice isn't the easy one. Or the legal one, or the one that makes sense. Sometimes the most important choice is simply standing up and saying, "Not on my watch." That day on the frontier, a man made a choice. And it changed everything. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that one person's courage can change everything, hit that subscribe button. Because every week, we're bringing you more true stories from the American frontier. Tales of courage, sacrifice, and the moments that define us. Drop a comment and tell me, would you have made the same choice Marcus did? Would you risk everything for a stranger? And remember, history isn't just about the famous names. It's about the ordinary people who did extraordinary things when the moment demanded it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next story.